form, it's like you have to zoom in
Super
so far,
blurry.
and then it gets a little blurry.
Yeah.
So
This makes sense. So you got the
Yeah.
landscape and the other one.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So introduce yourselves. Give us like a little intro.
Go ahead.
So my name is Kanika, and this is my husband Simran.
Yeah, so my name is Simran. We both own Spice Bazaar. We serve delicious Indian food.
Nice. How long have you guys been here for?
In the town, I think we've been here for about 7 years.
Okay, nice.
We were at a smaller location down the street for about 5 years, I would say.
Okay,
Okay.
very nice.
It's been about 2 years since we've moved down here.
Okay, cool. So give us like your background. Like, did you guys go to college? Were you always like entrepreneurial? Like, kind of take us back to like, where did this idea kind of start?
So I guess where it all started from was, so me growing up, especially in high school, on the weekends I would work at different restaurants and I would do caterings for them especially.
Okay.
So throughout high school and college, that's what my weekend gig was.
Nice.
And that's how I actually met her as well. I was catering at her Sweet 16.
No
And that's how we
way.
met. I was serving her chicken.
That's really long ago, by the way.
That was a very long time ago. And that's where it all, I would say, that's where it started.
Wow.
But for her, it was a little bit different.
So I actually grew up having like a restaurant background because my father has been in the industry for about, I would say, like 35 years.
Wow.
He has a place in New York City, so I kind of grew up in the restaurant atmosphere.
Okay.
Food was a very big topic at our home, I would say.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure you learned a lot like through.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I
seeing
would
your-
always like watch him working, and he always had that entrepreneurial mindset. I think that's where I kind of got it from as well.
Yeah, nice. So once, I guess now fast forward, what made you guys want to collaborate and start a restaurant together?
So after I did all that, I also had a corporate job.
Okay.
Kind of grew up a little bit. And then, once I was kind of stabilized in a good situation, I figured that I want to get into something.
Okay.
Just something on the side, just a small little gig. I didn't quite know a lot of entrepreneurial people around me, so the only person that was there was her dad. So I reached out to him and I was like, hey, what should I do? And the only thing that he knew was restaurants.
Yeah.
He's like, why don't you get a restaurant? So I'm like, all right. So while I still had my full-time job, I ended up buying a restaurant in Englewood. That was my first gig.
Wow.
And it was supposed to be just a side, passive income kind of a thing.
Okay.
A small 15-seater, more of a takeout place, and sometimes we'll get 15 people inside and
Yeah.
get packed.
Okay.
So that's where it started. But while I was doing that, I had my full-time job, and so did Kanika. And at some point, we had already been together for almost 8-9 years at that point.
Wow.
So while we're going the corporate route, she worked for L'Oreal, and obviously she was much more entrepreneurial than I was because her father, and she's like, hey, I have the bug as well. I want to do something. So I'm like, all right, why don't we do something together? And I'll let you take the story from there.
Yeah, no, we just, we stumbled upon Westfield like by chance. We heard great things about the town. And when we first opened up, it was like, I think about a 25, 30 seater. And we weren't anticipating such a great response. It was going to be more of like a takeout delivery place.
Okay.
And once we opened up, we just never looked back. And
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was kind of like an anomaly, right? So first of all, there's a lot of Indian restaurants in Jersey. When we opened up in Westfield, there was no other Indian restaurant.
Okay.
And we figured, all right, this is an empty canvas. So when we first opened up, and I kid you not, the very first day, actually the night before, we both decided that we're going to put in our notice and we quit our jobs.
Wow.
So we're like, we're going to take our chance. We're going to see how this goes. We're going to, what's the worst that could happen? Worst case, we're going to go back to the corporate life.
Yeah.
And come next day, we opened up and wow, not one person there.
Oh, gosh.
Not a single customer. So I don't know what happened though that night. And we both, right? Obviously, we just quit our jobs. We're working in the city, making good money.
Yeah.
And we're like, all right, is this the right decision or not? But I don't know what happened. The following day, we had a line going out the door.
Get out.
To the point, and I'm going to tell you a little something about this town. So, you know, it was a new restaurant. Our second day, technically still our first, right? Because first day nobody came. And now we have a huge line. So all the people started coming in. We sat them down, and there was a point where there were people waiting for their food for at least 45, 15 minutes.
Oh, wow.
We're like, oh my God, this is not good. So what we decided to do was we figured that, hey, we're not ready for this, right? I came with the mindset of Englewood 15-seater takeout, you know, a slow ramp up kind of a thing. Did not anticipate the kind of response that we got in Westfield. So I went by the door, I locked it while there were still people waiting outside. So I turn around, I look at everybody. I'm like, guys, I'm very sorry. We screwed up. We were not ready for this kind of rush. So we're going to shut down for the night. Now, I did ruin your night. So there were about 30 people sitting inside. I'm like, but this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give everybody a $50 gift card.
Wow.
And I want you guys to come back and visit us, right? So I walked around and gave everybody a $50 gift card. It's been 7 years. Nobody has used that gift card,
Really?
but everybody came back.
Yeah.
They were so nice.
Wow.
They didn't care about, you know, gift card. They saw like the way we were running around like chickens with no head. and I would say they kind of probably felt sorry for us.
Yeah.
And, but again, we saw everybody until date, right? We get our customers come here and they talk about that night and they're like, yeah, we still have that gift card. Like, and they're still here. So it kind of started off over there. And I think one of the biggest things that we were focused on was, you know, we're big foodies, and we always kind of saw Indian food, you know, we grew up with it, right? Household, everything, but we never felt like Indian food got the recognition that, you know, it deserves. I mean, there's India is so big, there's so many different cultures just within India, right?
Yeah.
And we kind of get slated by just the term curry, whereas curry is not even Indian. Actually, it was a name that was given by Britishers to
Really?
generalize all the sauces. And yeah, so there's no such thing as curry. I mean, there's different sauces, right? And there's different names for it. Every region has different names for the sauces that they do. When Britishers came over to India, they kind of figured that, hey, let's just generalize it, make it easier. So hence, there's a thing called curry powder that you'll see in a lot of like, you know, spice section. You'll never find that in India, by the way. Because that doesn't exist. So, you know, I kind of feel like there was, you know, there are definitely some restaurants out there, but not in Jersey, at least at that time when we opened up, where, you know, Indian food was not looked at as it was something sexy. And we wanted to kind of change the norm. So we figured, you know, why not use that as a playground? We got the people coming, right? We were packed. But why not try different things with them to see how they feel about it? So we went from a 6-page menu after a week to a 1-page menu. And we decided that we're going to change our menu every so often until we find the perfect menu, right? And then we started playing around with different things. So again, a lot of people think that, you know, modern Indian means that it's something fusion and something that we're combining together. No, we're not actually doing that. We're not fusion at all. All we're doing is we're authentic Indian restaurant, but the way we present our food is sexy. So that is the look that we go for, right? So why, you know, why does only French food get to look sexy, right? Why not Indian food?
Yeah.
And that's the mindset behind it. So from there, we started working towards creating different menu items, things that are you know, different than what some other restaurants at that point had. And we started plating, we started using like different microgreens, we started hiring people who were, you know, pastry chefs at like maybe even, you know, somebody who went to culinary school, and they came by, they would design our food, right?
Okay.
So it remained authentic, but the way it was being served was something that was a little bit more upscale.
Okay.
I'm
And
so curious. What say do you guys have in the food as far as like curating dishes? Is that you give that to the chef and they kind of go from there, or do you kind of work in collaboration?
So Simran and me love to travel and try different foods. Like that's something that we both enjoy doing. Generally, we eat out a lot. So when we come across something that we really like and we're like, oh, let's incorporate this into our restaurant. So, you know, we'll go back to the chefs, talk to them, see how we can, you know, incorporate our Indian ingredients and, you know, present it that way.
Yeah.
But it's generally, I think me and Simran
Yeah.
come up with most of the
That's
ideas just because we
awesome.
love to eat. So
yeah, and there's a lot of like trials, right, that we do. And so when we do go out, right, like for example, we went out to this, and this was recently, or not so recent, maybe last year. I love going to this restaurant called Cosme in New York City. They had this octopus dish, right? And while we're sitting eating, we're like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's Mexican food, by the way.
Okay.
And we're like, Indian cuisine definitely has some seafood stuff, right? But I don't see octopus a lot. So then the idea came about, all right, let's put octopus into our menu. But it was, I think, during the summer last year.
Right.
So we're like, I want it to be super colorful. I want it to be something that when somebody's looking at it, they think of summer. And from there, like that process started coming along. So we sat down with the chefs and we're like, all right, I want octopus. It needs to have a lot of different spices. It has to have, XYZ flavor. Like I want cumin in there. I want cinnamon in there, just a tad bit. So we started like playing with that. Then I was like, let's do our sauce. How do you do the sauce? So then we started playing around with different sauces and what pairs well with octopus. So that's really what the process is, pretty much all of the menu. So it's a lot of it is imagination, but again, everything that is being used in it is the authentic spices, and all we're doing is, even if we take something that's Western, we'll make it into an Indian thing
Okay.
without adding something that is not traditionally Indian. Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah, that's cool how like your food can also become part of your own branding, in that the way that you represent it is the way that people remember it and talk about it within the town, which is really cool. I kind of wanted to ask about your culinary backgrounds. Like it sounds like you opened up this restaurant. I assume maybe the owner stayed on for a little bit and was helping you kind of, or was it completely?
Yeah, no. So what I actually ended up buying was a shut down restaurant. So there was actually no owner there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it was all about, all right, let's go set it up. But again, I had Kanika's dad, who's been in the industry for about 35 years. So he had the right connects to, introduce me to. So when it came to chefs and all that. But then again, this industry is as such that, Indian food is something that I don't think can be generalized, right? First of all, even the way it's cooked. For example, Indian food, you'll never see any measurements or measurement cups being used. The reason that happens is because the taste is just in your taste buds. So that's probably one of the reasons you don't see a lot of Indian cuisine that has been franchised, right? So it's very hard to actually generalize it. One of the hardest restaurants to even scale it, because this is a very skilled work. So even when it comes to chefs, for example, so we do a naan bread, and the way that naan bread is made is that it's made in a burning clay oven, which burns at about 600 degree Fahrenheit. Where you take your bare hand, you put the dough inside that oven and you slap it against the wall. So that is skillful. So there's no equipment that you can use to kind of just stick that bread against the wall in that 600 burning degrees. You'll probably notice I probably don't have a lot of hair on this side, because I would play around with it, and that's what happens, right? So when you're doing that, so that's a lot of skill. That's something that requires a lot of experience. And then on the curry side, for example, I'm using the term curry too now, but on the sauce side, right, also there's no such measurement. So each chef will have, to give you an example, there could be a chef that is on the skinnier side, will have skinnier fingers. He could use the same recipe that another chef is using, who has thicker hands and thicker fingers, and it'll taste completely different, because there's no such measurements.
Interesting.
But yeah, from the connections, we started off with a bunch of chefs, and then over time we wanted to keep, trying different things over there as well, but not as much as we did at Spice Bazaar. And hence we kind of, from there, once you're in the game, you kind of create that network. From one person, you meet another, and then next thing you know, you're part of this group that has, a lot of different skill set.
It's funny you say that about, measuring things, because I'm Italian, and my dad, if you asked him to make a cookbook, it would just be like a little paragraph with no measurements or anything.
There you go.
And he says the same thing. It's all about the way it tastes. So
That's it.
I think that's funny. But as far as like curating your menu, I'm curious, like how much of it is things that you say like, this is what I like, and then how much of it is things that you think that the people coming in here will like?
So it's never about me or
Okay.
us or even the chefs, right? At the end of the day, it's the end product. It's the person, the end user who's eating it, right? And
No,
because
but we do keep like the ones they're staple obviously items on
Yeah.
our menu, which
Okay.
everyone loves, which we will never change because
Yeah.
it's like we can't do that.
Yeah.
So those stay.
So those stay. We've figured out our legacy items, but when it comes to these things where we change our menu quite often, we will try things out. We'll let our customers try it, and if the feedback is that, hey, this was amazing, it's gonna stay on the menu for a bit, right? And it was like, it was all right, you know. You kind of pick that up. So we never shy away from going through that process, and we do it live. I mean, all it takes is just a new print from the printer, but now I'm able to get the feedback, either fix it, or change it. So that's.
But then we also have like a lot of repetitive customers who come in, like who wait for our menu change, and like they'll give us honest feedback, and they'll be like, like not really feeling this, or like this is amazing, and then we'll
Yeah.
know like what to take out and what we can
And I call
keep.
them our permanent guinea pigs. And I tell them that. I'm like, hey, you guys are my guinea pigs. Like, it is, you guys are the people that I want to trust with, who tell
Right.
me, you know, if there's something that's lacking or not. So that's pretty much what the process is there.
Yeah, I'm also curious too how you feel like Americans over time have perceived Indian food and kind of what you're doing to kind of change their mind about it. I know there's a lot of picky eaters out there, and they might not, when they see certain ingredients or they might not know a certain term, they're just like, I'm going to stick with this, or I'm going to stick with what I know. Like, what are you doing? Is it in the presentation? Is it the name of the dish? Like, how are you kind of breaking that barrier down so that people can try your food and realize how good it is?
So you'll notice this, right? So not just Indian food. A lot of the Chinese restaurants, I kind of feel like, are also, you know, part of the stigma that's attached to them, right? But you can't really, you know, it's because let's say you were to go out and get takeout. Usually, if you go to a Chinese restaurant, you're expecting a board that's this combination 1, 2, 3, 4. Half of the times you can't even pronounce the stuff, right? But if I tell you that, hey, let's do takeout, that's the first image that comes to your head. But why not Tao? Or why not Budokan? Or why not a high-end Chinese restaurant, right? Or an Asian restaurant? So early on, we kind of figured that out, and we're like, hey, if we want other ethnicities to take a part in our restaurant, we need to simplify things for them, right? So starting from the menu, for example, our menu is made in such a way where we don't have any specific hardcore Hindi, which is an Indian language word that would throw somebody off.
Okay.
Right? So there's the way the menu is written is more in a sentence rather than an item. So if I were to say that, hey, I want an eggplant dish on my menu, but I'm going to name it Indian, let's say bangan bharta, that's what you call it in Hindi language. Indians will understand that. The other ethnicities will not really understand that. And that's one of the mistakes that a lot of ethnic restaurants, and I wouldn't say it's a mistake, it's also because that is what the norm has been, right? They do. So we do small little things like that where we're simplified things. So we call that item not bangan bharta, we call that, let's say, eggplant dip, for example, with mashed potatoes or, you know, another variation of it, but rather we simplify the description of it. On the other ends, I mean, I guess garnishes too, right?
Right.
We do a lot of different garnishes. We make it more appealing. And nowadays, you know, a lot of the things are about the social media aspect of things. So, our strategy is to go after, you know, the masses, and we simplify, starting from the menu from the presentation, and try to make things easier. Now, there are things that we cannot avoid. We have to put that in, you know, a certain language, but we make sure that it's enough descriptive where they can understand that.
I mean, we still get those customers who are a little like skeptical because they feel Indian food is like equals spicy, but not everything is spicy. It's just a lot of flavor. And like we're not hesitant for them to try something and see if they like it or not. Like we'll always change it. But we definitely want them to try it.
So while we're actually on this subject, let's just clarify. Hot spice is one of 130 spices that we use.
Wow.
The 129 are pretty much all flavors. Cinnamon, cardamom, saffron, you know, all these different things that we use. And a lot of the times this gets generalized. The word spice gets
Mhm.
generalized with something that's hot.
Mhm.
Okay.
But yeah.
Very
Interesting.
cool. Talk a little bit about the design process of the actual restaurant. How did that kind of play into like the mood that you were going for, and how does that kind of connect with the food and the ambiance that you were going with? Because I know you mentioned you wanted to make it like sexy, and that's definitely how I would describe this place. Like
Oh.
date night vibes, like drinks with my friends. Like that's like the vibe I'm getting. Was that like kind of how did you
I'll let
come
you
up with
answer that
that?
one.
I think we definitely wanted to go for something that was very elegant and chic, I would say.
Mhm.
We definitely just changed the restaurant like yesterday. So some things remained, but like we changed like our, you know, color scheme.
Mhm.
We wanted to be more inviting during the day, you know,
Mhm.
something more minimal.
Okay.
But it definitely goes hand in hand with the food.
Mhm.
I think the colors on the plates definitely complement like our minimalistic approach to the restaurant.
Mhm.
So that's the vibe that we're going for.
That's awesome.
And you kind of
Yeah.
match like the interior design to like the branding too.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, so the branding has, you know, obviously the name has a modern Indian, right?
Yeah.
And going back to those stigmas which we're trying to break,
Mhm.
usually a lot of the previous or the previous times,
Mhm.
Indian restaurants were much more of, you know, portraying the Indian side of things, which is amazing.
Mhm.
Mhm.
You know, there'd be pictures and murals on the wall,
Mhm.
Yeah.
things like that, showcasing India. Now, India has changed from that too,
Mhm.
right? So India itself has also modernized now,
Yeah.
and I kind of personally feel like it's about time. You know, traditions, absolutely 100%. I mean, we
Mhm.
have a picture of Lord Ganesha, which is,
Mhm.
you know, right in front of us, and
Wow.
that is part of it. But at the same time, it shouldn't stop us from going with where the modern times are going,
Mhm. Of
and
course, yeah.
that's in the name and the branding, I would say.
But also, I feel like we just wanted to create somewhere where we would enjoy going.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
since we go out a lot, like we visit a lot of different restaurants, like we wanted to make it a place where, you know, we feel like, okay, like this is what people would want to come
Yeah.
to, or this is like what the vibe should be. Like
Mhm.
from even our music, I think it's like handpicked. You and I, wherever we hear good music, like wherever we hear good
Mhm.
songs, we want to add it to the restaurant. Like, you know, just try to do whatever we can to kind of, you know, make it a vibe for people.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Definitely.
What has been your greatest challenge so far in owning the restaurant? I know you kind of talked about earlier the first day when you opened that you know, at the time probably seemed like a huge roadblock. Is there any other points in owning the restaurant that felt like a huge challenge, or maybe even like kind of doubting things like, oh, I don't know if, you know, if we should have opened?
I think we still wake up every day doubting why are we in this. But we were okay doing the 9 to 5, and you know, now we got the 24-hour
Every
thing going.
entrepreneurial.
But I mean, hey, it's part of it, right?
Yeah.
So there's any aspects that you can, you know, pick. It's a
Mhm.
challenge, right?
Mhm.
We kind of got into the restaurant business where social media was becoming something
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
was, you know, at that point, I don't think anybody anticipated that
Mhm.
majority of your clientele is going to be based on social media
Yeah,
and what
Right.
you portray and things like that.
Mhm.
We were lucky enough to kind of recognize that early on.
Mhm.
We're still doing that. I have a term for this. We are ourselves are not on social media. We took a sabbatical about a few months ago, and I don't think I'm
Mhm.
ever going back on it. Deactivated all my accounts and stuff. But I call this the monkey dance, and I think it's very important. And there are times that it's very time consuming. It
Mhm.
drains you out, and I'm sure you guys
Oh,
can
yeah.
understand this more than anybody. But that is what's needed, right? So
Mhm.
when there's challenges, you know, you're competing against not just let's say your neighbors or your
Mhm.
towns or, you know, multiple restaurants around you. You're
Mhm.
competing with a lot of different businesses
Yeah.
in a X proximity. Like, let's say
Mhm.
if my customer's coming from an hour away, what's stopping him or her from coming an hour to me than going to somebody who's maybe 30 minutes away from them, or
Mhm.
15, or maybe 2 hours away? So there's a constant competition on social media now.
Mhm.
Hence why the monkey dance, who has the best content and things like that. But I also
Yeah.
feel like, you know, it's just not about the content, it's also the quality.
Yeah.
So there's definitely challenges in terms of that as well, right? So you
Mhm.
have to make sure that your quality is consistent. So we're constantly checking things. We're constantly making sure that if whatever you had today, regardless of if the staff is same or not, you'll have the same thing and the same taste the next time that you're here, whether it's
Yeah.
6 months down the road or a year. So like I said, any aspect that you can think of, whether it's from the design to the staff to marketing,
Yeah.
location, parking, anything and everything is a challenge. I think it's more about what you do to kind of overcome it, come it, and there's no cookie cutter answer to that.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
every situation is different when it comes to that.
Yeah.
We
You
also, oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'd love to ask, because we're a couple and we work together and you guys are a couple. How do you kind of balance that role of like, you're at work and now you're at home and now you're on a date night? Are you always talking about the restaurant? Like, how do you
so
kind
in
of?
the beginning, it was definitely tough, I think. I mean, it wasn't too bad, but like I think it took us a while to both to kind of figure out like, all right, like you're doing this, I'm
Yeah.
doing that, like not to step on each other's toes. I think, but we both are pretty good at, I think, not discussing it as much, or we do sometimes, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge part of our life, right? So
Yeah.
we can't not discuss it.
Of course.
But I mean, knock on wood, we've never had an argument because of this, right?
Right.
Because we both are on the same page on what we're doing. It's
Yeah.
never a surprise that, hey, this is what I'm about to do. And,
Yeah.
it's never no surprise. So I guess communication is the key, right? We've always had that, but we've never stressed about it in the sense where, the expectations are always just automatic, I feel like, right?
Yeah.
I know what she's going to be doing. I know what I'm going to be doing. And if I'm not doing, she's going to step in. And if she's not going to do it, or she's
Yeah.
not doing it right now, we're expecting a baby. So
Oh,
Congratulations.
thank you.
congrats.
We're due in September, and obviously, she's going to be out of commission. So I step into the roles that Kanika fills, and I'm sure if I have to be out or something, she does that. So it's
Yeah.
but I guess in a nutshell, it's a part of her life, and there's no escaping it. So it's not like, hey, we're gonna go home, we're not gonna talk about this.
Yeah.
Of course,
I mean, we do, of course, but like
We-
then
Yeah.
we don't talk about it for like hours. Like,
Yeah.
then start talking about like
Yeah.
normal things, but it is a part of our lives.
I mean,
yeah.
we
Yeah.
meet so many people, so many different personalities all day long. We'll go home, we'll discuss it. Like,
Yeah.
hey, that customer, this customer. So we'll get a kick out of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess. But communication is the key. Is what I suggest.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we love to do this with all of our guests. We have some rapid fire questions that we
Ooh.
want to ask you guys. They're
God.
all fun. There's nothing too serious. Let me pull them up real quick. Do you want to ask them?
How
Oh, you
long
got
do
it.
we have? Like 90 seconds to answer each.
Some of them are a little bit more lengthy, so I guess they're not like
Okay.
true rapid fire, but whatever. Do
You
you
can
want to?
read them.
Oh, you want me to?
Yeah.
Read them? Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So, and you can answer separately or together or whatever.
Sure.
If you can only eat one dish off of your menu for the rest of your life, which would you choose?
I know your answer, but
I know your answer. So for me, it's butter chicken.
Okay.
for me it's
Love
dal
it.
makhani, which is lentils.
Nice. Okay. Are you guys an early bird or night owls?
I think I'm a night owl.
I am an early bird.
Early bird.
Up at like 5:30,
Yeah, he
6.
gets up too early.
And yeah, go to sleep at like 9:30, 10. If I'm not out. She's the one who's trying to wake me up. Hey, I thought we were watching the show together.
Not happening.
Just in the starting credits, I'm knocked out. Yeah.
Nice. If you could open up another restaurant anywhere in the U.S., where would you choose?
It's a tough question.
So we have a couple of spots that we really want to, but one of them would be I want to be in New Orleans.
Ooh.
Right.
Have you
very
traveled there
nice.
before?
I have once
Uh-huh.
a while back, and there are definitely a lot of Indian restaurants there. But I just kind of
Mhm.
feel like it's a vibe. It's a lot of
Yeah.
young crowd. It's so much going on there, not just during
Mhm.
Mardi Gras, but a lot of the other time as well. And I wish we had a liquor license at our restaurant, and
Oh yeah.
we don't. And NOLA is more of a party scene and things like
Yeah.
that. So I envision myself at some point being there,
Mhm.
having a restaurant with a bar, just an aspiration kind of a thing.
Very cool.
Very cool.
I would say probably Dubai, just because
Ooh.
I love the food scene there. I just feel like they're so progressive. I would definitely want to, open up a restaurant there.
Very
That's really cool.
If you had 2 extra hours during the day, what hobby would you pick up?
It's Tough question.
Or how would you spend it?
2 extra hours. I don't know. I guess I would like maybe like sleep more. It's not a hobby, but like maybe get some more rest in. I don't know. I'm always on the go, so.
Yeah. I like doing outdoorsy things. So I guess I'll twist the question around a little bit. If I had 2 more hours during the summer time, I'd like to be just outdoors.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
There's a hike.
Not hike out. I'm the type of person who's maybe driving in my car with the windows down.
Nice.
From that, but just being outside in warm weather or something I enjoy. So maybe like a beach or something. Definitely not a hike person.
Nice.
I don't think my knees allow me anymore.
What is the most popular dish on the menu?
There's a couple, but the most popular one, I don't know.
Spinach shot. So spinach shot is a crunchy spinach dish. Something that's a
Ooh.
legacy item that we have never changed out of the menu. It's been there for 7 years.
Okay.
The first item on the menu, always never even gone down to a second spot. That is the most popular item, I would say, and butter chicken, I would say.
Yeah, butter chicken, definitely.
I mean, there's
Staple.
definitely a couple legacy items that never came out of the
But
menu
I think
in
you're
7
right. Spinach
years.
shot is definitely like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the first one.
And there's like a few different types of chaat, right? Because I think I've had
Yeah.
aloo papdi chaat.
Yeah,
I think that's what
that's-
it's called,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah. I've
potato
had,
and
yes, I love it.
fritters, crunchy fritters.
Yes, yeah.
Mixed together. So the one that we do is a crunchy spinach.
Okay.
And we top that
Nice.
off with all that good stuff, the tamarind, the cilantro and whatnot.
Yeah.
Very good. Which celebrity would you want to see eating in your restaurant?
I know the answer to mine.
The answer to yours too. Let's see. I don't know. There's so many. I feel like.
Or I'll say mine. I
Yeah,
would love to have Bradley Cooper.
Nice.
Yeah.
He's kind of local.
Yeah,
he?
that
He lives
He's
like
in
an hour away.
Pennsylvania.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Oh, maybe one day.
It's possible.
He is in New York. I don't know. I have a few.
Okay.
I have a few.
If someone is trying Indian food for the first time, what should they try? You can either do like a full course, you can name one dish.
Can I tell you what they shouldn't?
Okay.
Chicken tikka masala.
Okay.
Because I feel like that is
That's like
the
the
most
standard.
like the standard thing. Another fun fact: not Indian at all.
Mm-hmm.
Originated in England. If you go to India and tell somebody that you want chicken tikka masala, they're gonna look at you like deer in front of headlights because that thing has no place in India.
Oh my god.
Do I have that on the menu? Absolutely yes. Do I dare to take that out of the menu? Absolutely not. Right? I'll get killed. But I guess one day I wish to take that out of the menu.
Mm-hmm.
Only because I feel like Indian food is only known by chicken tikka masala
Yeah.
or samosas,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So
Do you
we don't
guys have-
samosa.
I was
No, we
gonna
don't have
say,
samosa. We
okay.
got rid of it.
Really?
Yes,
Okay.
I dared,
Mhm.
and I
Just
took that out of
recently,
the menu.
actually, not
I
too
was
long
like, you know
ago.
what, that is it. I'm gonna start with samosa, and hopefully one day I'll reach chicken tikka masala.
Nice. Favorite childhood memory? Taken aback.
Wow. Does that count meeting you?
Favorite childhood memory.
We were kids.
That's
Okay,
sweet.
fine. I don't know. So I guess it was when I came to America. So I was born in India. I came here when I was 12 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, just the curiosity and
Mhm.
different culture and whatnot is super exciting. I'd say that's for me. Yeah.
I think for
Nice.
me it was just like discussing food all the time because we're all such big foodies. So like just like I guess my dad and I like we definitely bond over food, like trying different restaurants,
Mhm.
like just what's for dinner, what's for lunch, like definitely like a big memory I think for me.
Nice. Dream vacation destination.
Dream. So that means we haven't gone there.
I know mine.
I know yours too. Again, so I'll go with the answer that I know that she's gonna give. Tokyo.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, she's been
Nice.
wanting to go there. I'm the one who's
Yeah.
like, I'm not gonna take that long of a flight.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
I knew that
That's a
answer.
long flight.
Yeah. So hopefully one day.
Yeah. Yeah, the food scene there is incredible.
Yeah, I've heard.
And the last one is give us one long-term goal you have for your business.
So I want to be at a point where I want to keep making a dent and keep changing that stigma. And that is an ongoing goal, I would say. There's so much to do with Indian cuisine. There's so many different regions. There's so many things to introduce to the American market that, so I guess the long-term goal is to keep being able to do that, keep being able to coming up with new items that are untried, or keep trying to, make Indian food, on the map and keep it there, and keep trying to make it sexier. And that is the long-term goal.
Yeah, I think that, and also I think both of us agree on this. We definitely want Spice Bazaar to be one of the best Indian restaurants in New Jersey. So
That's
Yeah.
a great goal.
definitely one of our goals. Yeah.
That's awesome.
We figured if we're in it, then
Why not be the best?
why not be the best?
Right.
So
Great
every day, it's thriving for that, and every decision that is being made is based on that. So we don't ever slow down because of that. We're constantly making different efforts to try to achieve that. So who knows when that's going to happen, but
Yeah.
hopefully. And I don't even know if it happens, how would we measure it?
That's a good
It's very
point.
subjective.
That's a
So,
good point.
But I think it's definitely a good goal.
It's a good goal to
Yeah.
that we keep chasing after.
Yep.
Totally. We're in a great spot for it. Westfield's an awesome area. There's a big food town, so I'm sure you'll get there.
Thank you.
And just as like kind of a wrap up, what advice do you or can you give to inspiring entrepreneurs, whether that's in the restaurant industry or just in general? Like just one piece of advice you kind of want to leave the listeners to.
So it's, especially nowadays, it's very easy to people think that, hey, I can get into restaurants and only because the way things that a lot of people see on social media and all that. I definitely suggest spending a good amount of time working at a restaurant if restaurant is their goal, and also learn the skill, right? Anything that is a skill, that is a manual skill, that cannot be replaced by either robots, AI, and those kind of things. Focus on those things, and be true to yourself, right? A lot of the times people want to do these things, and they end up in a situation where it's kind of, when they're in it, they don't really understand all the dynamics of what's really needed. It's a lot of blood, sweat, and tear, and if you're ready for that, then absolutely 100%, like you're always going to be on your toes. But I definitely believe that any industry that you want to get into, you gotta get some experience in it first, and once you're comfortable doing that, then absolutely. I think I cannot personally see myself being in any other business than restaurant. So that is at least what my take is on that.
I think just general advice would be just to take that risk while you can. I feel like when you sit on it, or you don't, like, you just don't do it, like you'll always wonder your entire life whether you should have done it or not.
Yeah.
So I mean, of course I agree with him too, like, do your research, see exactly what you want to get into, but I would definitely say take that risk while you can, because things do change, and I think when you're a bit younger, it's easier to do so. So I would say go for it.
Definitely, yeah. Give us all the socials. Where can they find you? Address, website, Instagram,
Sure.
all the stuff.
So Instagram, Spice Bazaar NJ, and it's the same thing on Facebook as well. We're located 39 Elm Street in Westfield, and am I missing
And the
anything?
website,
And the website,
spicebazaarnj.com.
SpiceBazaarNJ.com.
Cool.
So
Yep.
all of them, just anything that's Spice Bazaar NJ, you'll find us.
Yep.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having us.
Well, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Restaurant
you
is
so much for doing
beautiful.
this. Yeah.
Definitely will be back here for date night soon.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
All
much.
right. Bye.
Thank you guys. That was awesome.